Sega Dreamcast, Nintendo 64. And then subsequently had an opportunity in 2011 to move to mainland China, where I took on the role as general manager for a small mobile game company that was setting up a office in China, just because a fairly large amount of our downloads were coming from China. And it was a company called Rovio based out of Finland making a game called Angry Birds. So back then it was, pretty popular, and ran the Angry Birds business for a while in mainland China, growing our the opportunities and kind of our brands in the market. And then I eventually moved over to an esports company in Hong Kong called Hong Kong Esports, where I was chief marketing officer. Got into esports in a big way, where we supported teams that were playing professional circuits around League of Legends, Overwatch, Clash Royale, Hearthstone, Arena of Valor, and then subsequently made my way to Blizzard, where I joined in 2017 as director of esports. Took on a few different roles. I was managing director for the Taiwan, Southeast Asia, India region, and then kind of pivoted into my new role as overseeing all of APAC from a strategy and business development standpoint. So very happy to be here. Nice to meet all of you. From my standpoint, I'll pass to Kelvin then as the next person.
Hey guys, thanks for having me today. This is Kelvin from ZeroX Adventure. So basically, we have collaborations with Signum, and then of course Jello from Play For as well, because ZeroX Adventure was a software as a service, a middle layer that provides systems, tools to actually increase the efficiency in terms of the gaming market right now in the crypto space, like for GameFis, for guilds, and also for users. But recently we pivoted a little bit. We wanted to build what we call a NFT-fi infrastructure. So we felt like the next bull run is likely to be led by NFT plus DeFi. And then we know the past few bull runs has been led by DeFi protocols. And then NFT taking a huge center stage since the last bull run. The next thing that we're going to see with all the BAYC, the Bored Ape, and everything happening right now, the NFT, DeFi, NFT-fi in short, is going to be the next big thing. And basically, we are building the infrastructure for that. We are also doing something very interesting, which we are trying to construct our own NFT oracle. And we are using a lot of our own data that we're getting when we partner all these guilds like Play For It to actually have gamers providing us live feed data of play-to-earn data. And with that, we are actually building what we call a NFT oracle. So we are still in the private fundraising stage. Definitely looking to share more of our products. Some of our products are live, some of our products are still in progress, but definitely happy to share more about our direction, and as well as what we feel is going to be the next few trends in the market in the upcoming trends as well. Yeah, thank you. I'll pass it to Neil. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thanks everybody for having me as well tonight, this afternoon, this morning, depending on where you're located. My name is Niels. I'm CEO and co-founder of HoloRide. HoloRide is a company that is originally a spin-out from the German car manufacturer Audi. We developed a technology while my two co-founders and me, we were still working at Audi, that picks up real-time car data, the motion of the car and the location of the car and the navigation route of the car, and synchronizes this in real time with immersive content. So you can imagine putting on VR glasses in the backseat of a car, and instead of traveling the real world, you're, in modern terms, traveling the metaverse. So having a very immersive experience that is in sync with the motion of the car. The beauty of this technology is the whole experience feels way more realistic because it's real G-forces working at your body. So acceleration, braking, steering, everything is transported one-to-one to the experience people are experiencing inside the headset. And the second, let's say, side effect of it is many people are not able to consume visual content in cars because they get motion sick, and due to the synchronization of what they see and what they feel, we can reduce it. I'm not saying we can cure it 100%. We're not a medical device. It's all about the experience, but our research shows that we can significantly reduce it, and by this increase the target group of people enjoying visual content in cars. we are not building games, we are building the tech for it. So our vehicle localization software does the real-time synchronization. And then we have come up with an SDK, which we call the Elastic SDK, where content creators, game studios, indie studios, publishers, whoever is interested, IP owners, can start creating for the car. Currently, our SDK works with a Unity game engine, but as with car manufacturers, we want to make our technology fully agnostic on that end as well. And we provide this tech, we publish the experiences to passengers on their personal devices, so that you bring your own device to the car, you have installed our application, it builds up a wireless connection to the car, and you're good to go. Our solution starts in fall this year. We have just announced 2 weeks ago that we'll launch in Audi cars first. So when you buy, as of summer, an A4, A5, A6, A7, A8, Q5, Q7, Q8, e-tron Sportback, or e-tron GT, HoloRide readiness comes as a standard. And the HTC Vive Flow, the glasses that look more like sunglasses, will be our first HoloRide ready headset too. So a very, very convenient, nice setup. Last year, in last quarter last year, we launched our own token to really fuel and supercharge our ecosystem for the benefit of all our ecosystem partners, whether it's the passenger itself or OEMs, content creators. We have launched Ride, and we call it Ride for a reason, because we want to expand it into the whole mobility and transportation ecosystem and really gamify or experiencefy this ride. So the end of dull rides, hopefully. Glad to be here today. Good. I hand it back to Gabriel.
Hey, thanks everyone for your interest. I think, today we have a very interesting panel of speakers, because I mean, like, compared to most crypto focused, events, chats and stuff like that, they're all really focused on the Web3 pure crypto native kind of speakers. But we have the benefit today whereby we have Paul, who's from a Web2 native pure AAA gaming company. We have Niels, who is in the middle of Web2, Web3, combining NFTs, Metaverse, blockchain kind of stuff together with the real world aspect of things, with cars and navigational data and stuff like that. So that's really interesting. And then on the other side of things, we have Kelvin, who's who's doing Xerox Adventure, more of the Web3 focus side of things. And in addition to Xerox Adventure, he's also founder of Skyarc, which is another super game which he probably can share more on later. And we have Cholo, who's on the guild side of things. So connecting players with games and how they go about these kind of processes, and how they think about the supply and demand side of things. So I'll pass it on to Cholo to start off with the first question.
Sure. Thanks, Gabriel, and again, great to have everyone on this morning, evening, afternoon. And I guess that the first question probably that our audience would be interested to kind of understand is maybe taking a look back at 2021, what you felt for each of your specific pockets of the metaverse, quote unquote, would have been the most interesting. And I would say also, I guess the follow on to that, which we can discuss as the next question, is really the outlook for this year, and what are you most excited about in the specific pockets of the metaverse that you also feel has a lot of potential. And I guess I can start just to kick things off. I would say from a play to earn and guild standpoint, really 2021 was, I would say, the birth year of play to earn as we know it. And really that came onto the scene with the introduction of Axie Infinity, which onboarded this massive wave of new players into blockchain gaming, the likes of which we haven't seen. I think we saw essentially the DAUs for Axie inflate from 200,000 late 2020 to as high as 3 million at some point last year. So it really has introduced this whole new audience into blockchain and Web3. And that's why it's kind of super interesting about how GameFi offers this very unique and differentiated wedge into Web3 for the metaverse, because it brings on a very, I would say, logical entry point into the blockchain space. So that's what really has been the exciting, I would say, watershed moment of 2021. I'll maybe go around the room. Maybe this time, Niels, we can start from your side, and then we can go into tackling the 2022 outlook question. So over to you, Niels.
Yeah, so I think 2021 marks a very, very interesting year in many areas, because I think for the first time you can say that crypto touched the mainstream market. First and foremost, driven by NFTs, because they got really popular, collectibles got really popular. I mean, they currently experience kind of a backlash for a reason, because it went too much down the collectible road and the get rich quick scheme. But I think what it really helped is that in the mainstream perception, crypto suddenly has a broader space. And I think this, most people, and probably most of you that are more or less crypto native and in this space for quite some time, didn't realize what really happened there. I think we'll see a massive inflow of people that now get familiar with crypto, are curious and trying things, and also games and experiences and interfaces that feel less techy and more approachable for many people, which will open up the market even further. So this was an interesting aspect for me to see, that it really develop this momentum. And in terms of metaverse, this is interesting, because the term metaverse is quite old for this dystopian sci-fi idea, but with the renaming of Facebook into Meta, suddenly the mainstream had this umbrella term for a techie term previously called spatial computing, so that the web is detaching from screens and moving into the space. And I think what still needs to be done, and maybe this is something for your later question when we get to the outlook, but most people still think about the metaverse now as a virtual reality environment. And I think this is not sufficient, because it's more about merging physical reality with digital reality to create a new type of reality, a new experience. And it doesn't need to be virtual reality only, but I think what makes it essential that something becomes like a real metaverse experience is this combination of the real world and the digital world forming something new. And I think we also were witnessing this inception point of this idea in 2021. So we finally have this umbrella term where we can put things under one roof, under one idea, to create one movement into one direction. Still, there are a lot of controversial ideas around this, and the right direction still needs to be found. But I think in those both domains, 2021 was quite significant and kicking off a few movements there, which is great to see from my perspective. Yeah.
Thanks, Niels. Any Kelvin, Paul wanted to chime in on your side? Any volunteers?
I'll chime in. I think in 2021, definitely like what Cholo mentioned, definitely the year of GameFi, and then at the backbone of it, definitely the fundamental was NFT, right? And then just early this year, we saw the big, huge deal that Bored Ape did at a 4 billion valuation, raised over 400 million to build a metaverse. So we are slowly seeing a lot of transitioning from not just an NFT collectible, and then of course they entered GameFi. We're going to see more and more values, untapped potentials. I think the market is still in its nascency stage, right? Whereby there's going to be more products, more features that people are going to unlock for NFT assets alone, right? And then one of it, of course, which is a proven model, is DeFi in NFT itself. But the biggest issue that is affecting a lot of projects right now is who is going to build that oracle. So we saw in the early days whereby all these fantastic centralized exchanges like Binance and then FTX, that was all due to because there was a chain link product called a price oracle. There was a token oracle for the reference. So everyone is trying to scratch their head and figure out who's going to build the next NFT oracle. With NFT oracle, the future potential for NFT trading will not just be like OpenSea, whereby everyone bids for it. It will be something that even involves arbitrage, NFT arbitrage, spot market trading. So that's the kind of future that we probably will see. And then more products are going to do that. And then, of course, on the other hand, we're going to see NFT that's going to become more U-based centric. So U-based, definitely one of the U features is what GameFi does, right? Use the NFT to generate profits, to generate returns in a way. And then another concept of U-based is, think of it as bought it as an IP. So whenever you want to use it in your movie or commercials, you got to pay for rights for that. But NFT and IP right now is still a very debatable kind of concept, right? Does it really belong to the person that owns the NFT asset? Or does it belong to the originator? Or does it belong to everyone when it's on public display? So this is something that I think it will find its direction and it will consolidate and it will cement its position in terms of NFTs, IPs, ownership, etc. Yeah, so this is something that we are very bullish, and we definitely will see a lot of trends in the coming, maybe this bull run or the next bull run. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Awesome.
from Cholo, yeah, maybe I could chime in from my side of in regards to 2021. And so you know, we come from a little bit of a more old school mindset, right? So 2021 was obviously a year of surprises. A year of like, oh my gosh, this P2E stuff is really blowing up. What the heck is it, you know? And I think for us, we really had to dig into understanding it, and that's our focus right now. Is, you know, we're the company that, you know, it's been in gaming for 30 years. Started off in, you know, the old school days on the Atari 2600 and stuff like that, right? So, you know, even for our organization, mobile was a bad word 3 years ago. You know, it's like, what the heck, mobile games, you know, oh my God, should we be doing that? But I think that 2021 was very eye-opening for the organization. We've since then really wanted to dig in deeper to understanding, you know, the world of blockchain gaming, GameFi, and how can that eventually evolve, because they will evolve to a point where it's really not just about the tokenomics within a specific game right now, and eventually could create more robust gameplay experiences that people will love and enjoy, but then would be, you know, will have NFTs, tokens named within them. And that mechanism maybe, you know, eventually evolves into more of a play and earn mechanism as opposed to a play to earn. But these are the things that are really exciting. I think at this point in time where, you know, disruption, innovation is all coming about because of it. And being where we're at as, you know, from an Activision Blizzard standpoint, we're trying to figure it out ourselves. Like, how are we going to enter the space? What technologies are we going to adopt? Which partners are we going to start working with? How is our approach going to be from the standpoint of, you know, Web3 and GameFi? So, you know, it's a very, it has been, like I said, eye-opening, and one of, you know, just trying to keep up with everything that's going on, and how, you know, there's just tons of stuff that are blowing up every single day. And that's it's a very, very exciting space. And it's just, you know, for us learning and trying to talk to as many people as we can within this space.
Awesome. Those are all very good points, and I think that really that comment Niels made around the year where Metaverse and crypto entered mainstream is very relevant. And I think if you take all of these various instances, whether it's GameFi, whether it's NFT art, or whether it's all these like music NFTs, it's really coming to a point where it's a lot more accessible, and that's why I guess from a gaming guild or a play to earn now turning to play and earn standpoint, it is a very unique wedge by which you bring in this audience from a non-crypto background. They understand blockchain and they start poking around and really understanding, as what Kelvin mentioned, what DeFi also has to offer. And I would say that's very interesting what that new market will bring from a playability standpoint on play to earn. Which I guess I'll kind of dovetail into what we're excited about in 2022. I would say from a GameFi and a game development standpoint, and I'm sure Kelvin will have thoughts here as well, given his ongoing kind of development with SkyArk. But really, we're seeing a very quick shift from what is essentially a very basic and simple game design from play to earn to essentially moving towards play and earn. And really, it's been kind of triggered also by a reckoning and an understanding, I would say, from game developers that they need to address all of the various stakeholders in their ecosystem. Right now, most play to earn games are really just addressing the needs and the requirements of a very specific set, which is the scholar player ecosystem. And these players really are in it to make money at the end of the day. They want to come in, really see it as an income supplement or substitute what they make from play to earn. And what you're seeing is it's kind of squeezing out some of the more casual focused players, the players that want to just play the game for fun, want to play the game to be hyper competitive, or they want to play the game for the cool skins they get. And what you're seeing from the newer projects that are coming on board is that they really try to address all of these different ecosystems, these different player archetypes, and trying to make sure that everyone has a good outcome in that specific game. And I would say maybe that's also one of the key themes for 2022. How do we push the envelope for the NFT world to be more accessible to mainstream? And I think Bored Ape, all that really has hit the ground running in terms of setting off 2022. But yeah, would be super interested to hear what all your thoughts are on your specific, again, slice of the metaverse. What is super interesting for this year? So I'll open the floor for any volunteers.
So maybe I'll share a bit more on my thoughts. I'll put on the head of SkyArk right now. As a game developer point of view, right? Basically, definitely the fundamental right now has to be play and earn, and then the fundamental of the games that you build has to be fun, right? Our mandate at SkyArk is, of course, to build an IP, to build a sustainable IP. So imagine from a original game kind of point of view, like Super Mario from the 1980s when it first started in pixelated form. And then subsequent every year, they will release a new title of it until they went to Mario Kart, to Smash Bros, eventually 3D Mario, etc. Imagine you own the very first Super Mario game and it's in the form of an NFT asset. Instead of buying a game on a yearly basis, right? You are actually using the very first NFT to keep playing multiple titles. I think that's what is powerful about NFT. And I think the direction of GameFi NFT should go in the direction whereby we keep adding utility to the existing NFT. Rather from a lot of GameFi have a generally short lifespan in the market right now. 3 to 6 months is a terrific result sometimes. Because why? Because majority of the gamers right now are more crypto native, right? I came from a semi-pro background that I used to play professional Dota, etc. So if you ask me about the quality of games, definitely Web2 natives games are still way better, right? The level, the quality, the gaming pool is totally different. And the gaming mentalities in terms of gamers in the GameFi scene right now is still very crypto native. It's all about the earning part rather than the play part. But I think the lines are blurring. I think with technically like Paul and Blizzard coming in the future, Tencent, Ubisoft, Netmarble, everyone with the big studios coming in. And then they are not going to fall into the conundrum whereby they're going to do a lot of money grabbing. They're going to launch like premium loot boxes just to get as much money from the market, cash grab. And then instead they will actually build balanced games, right? They'll build GameFi that can introduce even there's balance enough for esports to come in. And then that will really starts to bring in the Web2 natives, like bringing the competitive nature, bringing the prize pool, etc. And that's going to change the whole dynamics, right? And I think that is the future of GameFi. I'm a strong believer of scholarship system and everything, even though we know some of the bigger projects out there have given out on that. They don't believe in this. But I think with the big GameFi, I think GameFi is still playing catch up to even the guilds kind of narrative. And then, but it's definitely gonna be there. And then, yeah, everyone should be readying themselves for that. Yeah, so very, very bullish about it. Yeah.
I like the aspect that Kelvin just stressed. If I look at 2022, I see few things accelerating, and it's definitely what he just said. So if the mainstream gamers get into the space, we want to contribute with our idea that you get people where they are and bring the games to them, because people in cars are just idling around. They have a lot of downtime. For them, transit time feels like wasted time. There are no offerings, and suddenly you turn the car into one of the most advanced gaming platforms. We compare this always like an interactive theme park ride, because it's still being guided, because the driver is driving you around, but based on the position where you are, the game unfolds. So the next time the driver takes a different route, the game might unfold differently. And this also increases replayability. But the fact is, we want to take place where people are and bring the games to them, than trying to build a game and compete with like all the other things that are in your household, not just other games, but also streaming services, but also the housework you have to do. There's a lot of competition around your time wallet, so to say, and we want to we attack the space where there is not much competition. So this is where I think crypto games and gaming in general can still grow a lot. This is one aspect I think we'll be seeing. Another one is, you touched this in your previous statement, Kelvin. I think we'll see NFTs go way beyond the current status, and finally unlock utility that also has some relevance in the real world. And I think that's where the magic starts. And I think this is what we'll see this year too. And then there are a few other things I see accelerating this year, because, as I said, we just touched mainstream last year. I think we are far from mainstream yet. So I think the best is yet to come in the next month and years. But I think once games are more attractive, it doesn't feel like a crypto game, but like a proper experience people like to engage with, then the rest will follow automatically. I think a strong focus on user experience in all the domains, whether it's setting up your wallet, pairing your wallet, having the experience, displaying your earnings, sharing your experiences with others. I think all this will be an essential part on taking this mainstream, and I think 2022 will be the year for this. I'm pretty sure. So we have a new participant.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. We just had Khaled come online. He's a game designer for Illuvium. Maybe I'll just pass it on to him to give a quick introduction about himself, and he can catch up on the questions after that.
Yeah, hi guys. I'm very sorry to come like late and bomb the meeting, but I just had some issues with the PC. My name is Khaled Rumi. I'm a games system designer working at Illuvium. Basically working on the systems design of the auto battler and the land gameplay feature, and how we're going to integrate that with the economy of the token. Yeah.
Yeah. We were just speaking about the the trends and our reflections on how on 2021 and kind of like what are we looking forward to in this year in 2022 and going forward. Do you mind sharing a bit on that?
Yeah, sure. So I think what we've seen on 2021 is just basically the bare minimum in terms of viability of just barely integrating the game and having like that play to earn aspect into the game and having an economy that fulfills the play to earn thing, which is what was happening with the dual token system, where we have the governance token and you have the utility token, which acts as a play to earn for the players. And we've seen that mostly from Axie Infinity and then Peg Axie afterwards, and hopefully soon with crypto unicorns, for example. But I think that would not cut it going forward. I think we would need to see a new model where it's not like the as they call it, like the pyramid scheme or an economy that depends on the new user growth to enhance the utility token price or to sustain it. We need to see like games that really retain users who are here to have fun in the game, who really enjoy playing, and this is what I'm really hoping to see. So yeah, I think no longer we need to look at like making games for like the most fun game in blockchain. I think we need to be the most fun game period to sustain the users and to have, you know, an ecosystem that could keep players engaged for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, completely agreed. I mean, like, I think, you know, in 2021, most of the games which we saw, you know, like pitching and coming into the space were just, you know, like a traditional game, but layering on an aspect of tokens. And, you know, like a lot of them just like copied Axie and with this like dual token, one for as like an in-game currency, one as a governance token. But, you know, I mean, like, just looking at Axie, I mean, I wouldn't necessarily consider it a success. I mean, success for the investors who, you know, got in early and so at a huge like premium. But I mean, like for investors who got in at a peak, and you know, I mean the price of the tokens. I mean, if you judge a success of a project by, you know, the price and appreciation, it's been going downhill. So I mean, I think, you know, I think, you know, I mean, like I think there are probably only two games I've seen in the space so far, which are kind of like, you know, like merging the Web 3 and Web 2, you know, something I'll call like Web 2.5, which is like Holoride, and there's a new game which got listed on Binance called Step N. It's a move to earn game. So I think like you know, it's we've not really, I think we're still at the very early stages of crypto where, like, you know, we've not really seen games truly utilize or, you know, unlock the value of what blockchain and tokens can bring to a game. Yeah, so Cholo, off to you for the next one.
I think we didn't get to hear from Paul on the 2022 outlook, so maybe just quickly checking
Yeah,
in. And
sure. I can talk a little bit about what we think about 2022, and I think that kind of just following up on what I was mentioning, you know, I think that as the rest of the panel here talked about, I think there are going to be some very exciting things in 2022. We're looking forward to seeing what the next level of that is as game companies are putting forth more play and earn model type games. We're seeing a lot of interesting things coming out of Korea, as an example. You know, Cholo, you and I have talked about this as well, but you know, we have a huge business in Korea for our traditional side, and we obviously are very close to the ground there, and they kind of really have taken on and adopted in full force, I would say, at the end of end of last year, going into this year, you know, the whole Web3, you know, blockchain game aspect, and even the biggest companies in Korea, NCSoft, Nexon, are talking about getting into blockchain gaming. And so it'll be very, very interesting to see what comes out of that area, because of the fact that Korean game companies have done a fantastic job in the Web 2 game space. So that'll be very, very interesting. For us as an organization, we are faced with some challenges of learning as much as we can, but also struggling with some of the IP aspects that were mentioned earlier, you know, because that's something that we'd have to be willing to you know, let go a bit on, is the ability for our IPs to then be, you know, on the blockchain, and people to be able to have ownership of certain things. In the past, as a AAA game publisher, we owned everything. You know, it's like, you know, and we were very protective from the standpoint of that IP. But I think that there is a gradual easing of that mindset, because interestingly enough, within our organization, there are quite a lot of people that are bullish on crypto, bullish on Web3. And there is like then an internal struggle with some people that are just naysayers, as with any disruptive and new area, right? Where they're like stuck in the old mindset. And I think it just takes some time to get them over that. So 2022 for us is going to be spent debating those issues and educating our internal stakeholders, because there is a substantial group within our organization that does believe that we have to keep an eye on and keep a pulse on what's going on in the Web3 space, just because we don't want to be so far left behind, kind of like we have been on the mobile side, to be quite honest. As an organization, we were very slow to mobile, and we recognized that that was a misstep on our part, because there are many, many other companies that have done phenomenally well in the mobile game space far earlier than we did. And so we kind of want to make sure that 2022 is a year that we're keeping an eye on things as well. So that's it from my side, Cholo.
Thanks, Paul. I've just got I've got a question for you, Paul. So we've seen traditional Web2 companies like Ubisoft and Discord, announcing plans to move into this space, into the blockchain crypto space, but they faced a lot of backlash from their users.
Their community, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think is what's the source of all this fire, against transitioning into the space? And I guess that's for the end user side of things. But what about internally? Do you think perhaps there are people at Blizzard who feel that perhaps it's not such a good idea because it means that our pie gets smaller, or what are the potential areas of concern which people have about this space and moving into the space?
Oops, I think Gabriel froze.
Yeah, same on my side.
It's okay. I think I got the gist of his question, so I could start answering it. And I would say that for
would face addressing this new landscape, if you may. Maybe it would be interesting to I guess more kind of for Niels, since you all kind of straddle between something that's really new, like metaverse wise, but also dealing with more legacy companies like a car company. Any particular kind of I would say experiences that rhyme with what Paul mentioned, or even are very different to that? That would be interesting for us to understand.
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good question. The way we work with car companies is very, very simple. Our solution is for the passengers. And if you think about car companies, traditionally, they focused a lot on car buyers and car drivers, not so much on the passenger. The way we bring our solution to the market and the way we work with car manufacturers is also very straightforward. They don't have to build in additional hardware to their cars, nor do they have to change any of their signals. We take the signals as is, so like acceleration, braking, steering angle, wheel ticks, all these data points, they don't have to modify them. Every car brand is different. Even within a car brand, you have multiple platforms and different formats of signals. So we take off this burden from them and modify our software and adjust it to the respective signals. All they have to do is they have to provide these signals in a certain frequency within the interior of the car via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi. That's all they have to do. And we take care of the rest. And what I mean by this, we follow the philosophy that we don't develop a solution for the car, we develop a solution for the passenger. That means we're not tying in our tech into the center screen of the car. We don't try to squeeze it in there like most car companies do. They have Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, so all the smartphone content to the center screen. We follow a different philosophy. We extend the car to the personal device because we know passengers switch cars more often in the future, whether it's they have a subscription service, they use ride hailing, maybe their household has more cars, so they're not always tied to one specific vehicle. So having an application running on your personal device that you carry around with you is a different approach. However, we share the revenue, not just with the content creators, but also with the car manufacturers for providing these data points to us. So we lower the barrier in terms of working with us, because we come from a car manufacturer, we speak auto, so to say, we speak their language, we know the hurdles. And in terms of content, they fully trust us and the developers we work with because they know the audience best. Our core audience at the beginning are millennials, teenagers, Gen Z on the backseat, yeah? And they grow up with this metaverse idea. They grew up with mobile, and now they're literally diving into this space. And we give full creative freedom to the studios we work with and say, you know best what's best for the audience. And to Paul's point, I mean, so far you ship like boxed experiences, boxed games, but what if Call of Duty would become a universe people could travel in? And suddenly the real world becomes the framework, the canvas for these experiences by having procedural generated content, but also persistent content. So every region in the world might be different, and driving in this region might be a different experience than driving in another part of the world. And all these things give IP and beloved IP, like Call of Duty and all the other IPs that, for example, Activision Blizzard has, a different life, a new angle. And you have to be very sensitive regarding our target group, of course, but this is something the studios, the publishers, the IP owner knows best. So when we approached with our first prototype movie studios, like for example, Disney, they said, guys, that's great. We have movies, we have games, we have theme parks. And now this is like a fourth dimension, is you can take the IP from a movie, create an interactive experience like a game, but it feels like a guided experience, like a theme park experience, and suddenly the whole world becomes a theme park. That's awesome. And I think this is the angle you have to inspire your partners, saying the metaverse and Web3 offers such a great new creative potential also for you as a brand, and maybe even a traditional brand, how you can revitalize everything. And this is how we approach our partners. And I mean, if you're familiar with the car buying process, the families, especially the kids, have a massive impact on what car is being bought. So this is also the future generation. This is the next generation of customers. So addressing all these aspects opens a lot of doors, at least for us, and that's our experience. So we try to inspire with the possibilities.
Awesome. Thanks, Nicholas. I think a very good point around making Web3 more accessible, both to Web2 partners and also, I guess, the public at large to really increase adoption. I think I see Gabriel has returned. Should we go into Q&A? Gabriel, I saw there's a bunch of Q&A on the panel.
Yeah, sure, of course. Let's start with the first question from Shu. Are there any challenges to data protection, and what are the solutions to circumvent these problems? I guess maybe like to add to it, maybe like data and privacy, if happy for whoever wants to take a stab at it first. Anyone? Maybe Paul, you can start first from your experience as a.
Well, that's one of I think that is one of the concerns for us. Whenever we've been talking to partners about projects and the possibility of working together, because we are in conversations with multiple companies about, hey, how could we explore this and that, and we have various different IP that might work, where we could collectively develop a project together. data protection is a big concern and enabling that. So those are some of the questions that we do ask. I mean, I'm not, I'm not well versed enough on the technical side as it relates to this, but it's something that is of utmost importance alongside, if you're addressing, KYC, AML, we also have tax considerations that we need to address as an organization. And if you're gathering all that data, then how is it being secured and safe, right? I mean, obviously, there are protections in place, but I can't properly answer that question from the technical side just because I don't have that knowledge. But yeah, it's a concern for us as well.
Got it. Any other thoughts from the rest? I think from GameFi standpoint, data protection, generally most of the players, I guess, would oftentimes play behind anonymized wallets. But I think that over time, we're starting to see more centralized kind of focus from each of these developers as well, especially as they try to bring these players from one part of the metaverse to the other. But I don't know, Calvin, if you had any thoughts on that.
I'll share a bit. I think in the world of decentralization, which is cryptocurrency itself, right? Everyone wants to remain anonymous behind the wallet, right? And then I think a lot of GameFi, for them to elevate themselves to get to the next level of esports, for example, whereby even at professional sports level, people want to know the profile behind the wallet. Is it a professional gamer? Is it a very good gamer? And then that is very important. So even at 0x Venture, we have a product that what we call a decentralized ID system that is actually basically trying to profile the gamers based on the proof of work, meaning we try to rank this wallet based on the amount of SLPs or an amount of in-game tokens that they have minted up. And then with that, we can actually tag a title to them. Because if I have a liquidity of NFT assets in my treasury, then I want to find a good scholar or a good gamer to play it, where do I get the record? Where do I get the track record, right? In the world of esports gamers, we've seen often, even in professional sports as well, top gamers being traded around teams. And then they get paid highly when they are champions. And then I think that's something that has to change as well in terms of that. But then it's always the same questions of like, if you add the KYC to the wallet, if you add the data protection to the wallet, then how is it that crypto native, right? And then in terms of GameFi, there's always two kinds of game. Fully on-chain games, or only assets on chain game, which is still governed by a centralized system. And then part of it becomes a NFT assets, right? So in the end, most of the games right now, even though we're still seeing some emerging games that's going fully on chain, whereby it's governed by a decentralized system, most of the games like Axis, for example, are still on a centralized gaming system. Whenever there's an issue, when there's still a governing body, like Blizzard does for all its communities of gamers. Whenever there's a bug, whenever there's an issue, it will be resolved, right? And then it will be solved. And then this is always something that we are also struggling. But I think blockchain game differentiates itself from traditional games because NFTs, for example, when they are able to interact on chain, and then they are able to reflect that change when the NFT interacts with one another, that's where it differentiates itself from the traditional game. And that's where I think it adds value. And then with the new layer ones, with the new on-chains moving faster, getting cheaper, we're going to see a more seamless kind of gaming experience. And then more games are going to build a fully on-chain game. So I think that is also the future trend that we will see. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, Kelvin. Gabriel, I guess we have a bunch more questions, but also just checking in on time. Like how you think should proceed?
Yeah. Are our panelists okay for 2 or 3 more questions? We'll just finish what's rest on the list and we'll take and finish it. Are you guys all good?
Yes.
I know Kelvin has a hard stop soon in about 20-ish minutes. So let's quickly get to the second question. It's for Cholo, Kevin, and Khaled. How do you feel about the recent GameFi products on L1s such as EtherOx, Raid Party, Eternal Elves? Do you think they have a future long term? Are they a pyramid scheme? If no, how are they not? I guess it's more on, on how, how blockchain games have kind of been sustaining themselves, whereby, the value is only accrued to existing users as new players come in. So, it's relying on new money, fresh capital coming in. Do you guys think that is sustainable, or is there something which we are missing out here?
Maybe I'll kick off very quickly, just looking at it from how the guild managers really view it. And I think you're right. I think you're able, because recently the model for play to earn games has been so far a massive adoption wave, and then when it hits kind of a peak, there's a huge sell-off, and then the token kind of crashes to a certain extent, but then starts to stabilize at a much lower level. What we really see is that unless there is a change in the player composition, then most play to earn games will unfortunately be subject to that aggressive price action, because you are the first wave of adopters are really these scholars and these play to earn guild players that are really looking to cash out and make, I would say, all of their earnings, take it out into fiat and pay for real world items. The challenge becomes for most of these games is, once that kind of like initial pump and drawdown happens, how do you attract, retain, and really nurture an ecosystem that is beyond just a play to earn ecosystem? Because if the only players that come into the game are the scholars, then you are going to be subject to significant sell pressure that can't be absorbed by just the guilds. And that's really the challenge for all of these games, to really see how you can bring in that organic player base. Again, the different types of players, the ones that would really invest the time and the effort to be good at the game, get better, improve their character, and really stay within the ecosystem, and not just look to cash out every 1 or 2 weeks. And that's what we look at from a guild standpoint as well, how the team is thinking about all of these elements in sustaining the ecosystem of their game. So maybe I'll pass on to Kelvin or Khalid to add on from a developer standpoint.
Yeah, I'll share a bit, like from my point of view from the Skype side. I think a lot of GameFi right now, as Cholo mentioned, the gamers population is really very crypto native, right? So they are very focused on the earning part. And this is very, very clearly seen in games that have done well to sustain the dip. So games like Mobox, games like Radio Carcass, Metamon Island, whereby the game isn't like extremely high graphic, open world, etc. It's just a very simple game where monsters chose fireball at one another, but the tokens sustain. Why? Because they focus a lot on the DeFi part rather than the GameFi part, whereby the tokens that they mint out, there's a staking capability. They get to stake, they get to earn assets that is available in the future games, future metaverse that they are creating, the 3D world, for example. And then that controls the liquidity, and then that controls the token price, so the game doesn't die off. Good games like when Tiden Arena came out, it was something very novel, 3v3, and then there's co-op, and then it was a big hit, but it is also facing the same problem like every GameFi, right? The tokenomics isn't doing very well, it's tanking. Why? They have a fantastic mechanism that the market hasn't seen, whereby they have an NFT mechanism that runs down on every gameplay. And then when you run out of it, to play the game, you have to buy or top up, and then there's an inflow again. To avoid it being a pyramid scheme, you must always have a mechanism that allows a constant inflow to support your outflow that you're giving out for them to mint, right? So they have that, but why is it still struggling? Because there wasn't a strong element of the support on the DeFi side. There was only the GameFi side. It's a fantastic game. I think so that's the concern maybe Blizzard will have. Right? So if I have a fantastic game coming in, and then the crypto natives are not the same user group that we are used to dealing with, right? And then what is the element that are they really looking at? Is it really the DeFi or the GameFi part? So that's the part where, yeah, I think every project needs to take note. And then of course, if you want to know whether the projects are safe, look at the list of backers. Look at the list of backers. If they have credentials, real popular known names, obviously the funds have done their DDs, they have done their due diligence, they've done their homework in your place, but of course, always do your own research, like for every project. Yeah.
So I'd like to add on what Kelvin and Cholo have said exactly. So the way that the games that you mentioned, Gabriel, I think are good proofs of concepts, but not really good gameplay experiences. I think they are like novel experiences that prove to us that okay, this such model can work. But as they said, that the economy has issues, and I think the easiest way to look at the issues with the economy is look at the demand from the utility or the play to earn token is coming from where exactly. And here is where the majority of the problem comes in. Like most games, they set up the token supply and demand, where it's like the demand is mostly coming in from new users, as opposed to the whales basically in the games. And I think the key to just or fix for this problem is usually if you would put a sink in the economy, like a bottomless sink basically. It's like if I want to spend a lot of this token, I have a way to do it. Like in Axie Infinity, if I just have 3 axes and they are powerful axes, I no longer need to spend SLP at all. Which I think is a very big flaw, and people are overlooking. I'm not sure why. uh, I think I could say that it's mostly due to the fact that Web3 games are you get the reward upfront, and then you develop the game. In NFT sales and token sales and whatnot. And if we see a change where it's like, no, after you do the game, and if the game is performing very well or it's providing a good experience for the players, then you would get the reward. I think the game design and economy design would shift completely. And I think that would be a very healthy thing that could happen, which would be very beneficial for the ecosystem, I think.
Thanks so much for your answers, guys. Okay, let's wrap up with the last question. What is your view on the one token and dual token model? I mean, is is governance is distributing it in the hands of your end users really important? I mean, from what we've seen in most protocols which have done that, I mean, voting is ended up being done, by only a few handfuls of people which are really interested. I mean, the rest just can't really be bothered to take part in these kinds of votes and forums and stuff like that. And yes, yeah. So maybe I'll pass it to Nils to start off.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. Of course, it always depends on the energy in the community and how willing they are to participate in it. I strongly believe that it can be massively powerful if you have a community that is engaged. You ask for their opinion, you involve them, you take them serious, you take their opinion serious. And I would definitely say it's worth pursuing this. However, there are different ways and different aspects how you can manage this. To be very frank, we are still trying to find the perfect way for us yet, because we are such a new type of project that's combining so many aspects, and it's not crypto native, and it's bridging a lot of things. It's trying to combine a lot of industries, but when it comes to content, when it comes to experiences, I think a lot of people have a lot to say, and there are also a lot of creative people out there. And finally, a token gives them the opportunity to participate and bring in their creativity. And we would be stupid if we wouldn't tap this potential for the benefit of our ecosystem. But everybody who has ideas, please approach me afterwards, because I'm curious to learn in this domain, but I'm a strong believer that one should do so, and will definitely do.
Thanks, Nils. Khaled, any thoughts from you as game mechanism designer?
Yeah, sure. So the way I look at it as the governance token, the main purpose of it is value capturing. Like what you want to do is increase the value of this token for its holders. That's the objective of it. And the more it acts as a share, a company share, the better for its holder. Like I'm And I'm a big fan of the company or the development company being the actual DAO itself, instead of having two entities where you have a studio that develops and then you have a DAO, and then the studio would funnel resources out of the DAO, and therefore the investors in the token or the token holders, don't benefit completely from the token. So I'm a big believer of having a governance token that governs the DAO, and then that's the way to capture all the value in it. And that's why typically you would see it's limited in supply, and the utility token is there to just act as the glue for the economy, where it could act as a commodity, if you were say, as opposed to the governance where it's like gold, where it's like you want it to just keep on increasing in price. That's why I really like the dual model. It gives enough flexibility for the economy, and fulfills the governance role of the token holders, I think, perfectly.
Thanks, Khalid. Calvin, Paul, Cholo, you guys have things to add?
Yeah, let me share since we are on token mechanism, right? So I think when we started Skya, we also had done our own research, and then we have seen even triple tokens in recent projects, with a third token being a U booster kind of concept. And then we even toyed with the idea with the recent US Terra pegging your token to a stable, right? So all these concepts, it is technically still all theory, right? Unless you put it in practical. And then of course, there's so many external factors that you have to consider: the market conditions when you launch, and then the community, and then do you have close competitors launching at the same period, etc. And then with all this in play, there's only one fundamental theory. If your tokens have a strong utility, have a strong value proposition that you can constantly add to it, it will pop, right? And I think that's a fundamental of every token. Whether is it a single token, dual token, you have to find ways to keep adding utility. And that's a proven theory. Yeah, so basically that's that. Yeah.
Thanks, Calvin. Cholo, Paul?
I would echo all of the sentiments made earlier. I would say that probably it's the dual token really allows you to segregate kind of your stakeholders to a certain extent. So there are just those kind of ecosystem participants, especially in a guild, that just want to look at playing and earning. And I think you do get a lot of flexibility from doing dual tokens, where one is really just meant for utility, and the other really gives you a say in the direction of the project. Whether more than two is required, I would say we've seen that in potentially more complex MMO type games, where they look at tokens as ingredients and crafting, what have you. But it still goes back to the core that one set of tokens is for governance, and the other set is merely just for use within a game. So it will be interesting how that develops if there's new token models that come on board, as Calvin mentioned.
I was just gonna say exactly what Cholo was saying. I've started to see multiple utility tokens as well. So yeah, it will be very interesting how people utilize that moving forward. Because I believe that there'll be a lot more kind of crafting and putting them, various different tokens together to create various different other items is something that we're looking forward to see how that develops in the near future.
Thanks, Paul. Yeah, thank you everyone for your time. If there are any social channels where our attendees can give you guys a follow, or or reach out to you guys, maybe you guys could share it with our attendees. I'll just start with you, Paul, if you have any, be it like Twitter or like Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I usually, LinkedIn is probably the easiest for me from business professional standpoint. And that's usually the channel that I focus on for the most part.
All right, thank you. How about you, Khalid?
Yeah, so you guys can catch me on Twitter, K Alroumi, ALROUMI_. I'm happy to take any questions, or if you just want to chat about anything related to crypto gaming, more than welcome to.
Thank you. Cholo?
Sure. I use mostly Twitter and Telegram. I'll just drop the sorry, it's It's Hanzonage, so HANZONWAG. Sorry, HANZOWNAG. And similar to Khalid, any questions or thoughts you had, or any potential like working together, do feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Cholo. How about you, Calvin?
I'm old school like Paul, and I'm still using LinkedIn, and then transitioning from the Web 2 towards the Web 3. So I'm using a lot of more Telegram and Twitter right now. So feel free to reach me on my handle TG Calvin_Chua CHUA_0x. Yeah.
Thanks, Calvin. How about you, Nils?
All over the metaverse. So it's Niels_Volny, WOLLNY at Twitter. You find me on Telegram. You find our HoloRide Telegram group, or LinkedIn under my name. And also traditional email, niels@holoride.com still works. So.
Okay, thanks so much, Nils, and thanks to every one of our speakers. For our attendees, please give them a follow, and do reach out to them if you guys have any questions. Thanks for your time, everyone. We'll end it here.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thanks everyone. See ya.
Everybody.